To weigh in, we welcome someone we know very well here at the network, Newsmax Media CEO Chris Ruddy. Chris, I know that you have experienced at Newsmax what you consider bias in the past. If you could put this in perspective for us, we'd appreciate it.
Look, I think a lot of the social media companies and the internet giants like Google have a long history of bias against conservatives. Take an example, Google, which owns YouTube. They have a live cable channel system. They have a lot of liberal, we count about a dozen liberal news and information channels. They won't put Newsmax TV on, even though every other cable system in the country carries us. And it was funny, a couple of years ago when they said they couldn't take us because they didn't have the bandwidth, they went on to add two liberal channels, Newsy and Cheddar. So we knew that they were effectively lying to us. And when they're confronted about it, they don't really have an answer. We know that Facebook, a whistleblower, came out after the 2012 election and said that there were about 6 conservative websites that were algorithmically told to put them down and suppress them before the election. Newsmax was one of them. That was just another example. Google, during the 2016 election, the president was in a very tight race, Bob, against Hillary Clinton. And they were sending emails. Emails are very important for a campaign because they can raise millions of dollars through their email campaign. I'm going to read you from the March 2017 DM News, which is the major direct marketing news publication in the industry. This is what they wrote. A similar example presented itself during this past year's election, the 2016, where Hillary Clinton's emails were being classified by Google and Gmail as updates, while Donald Trump's were tabbed as promotions or junk mail. Clinton's were read more and raised more money because these emails defaulted to the primary inbox for the user. Meanwhile, the primary inbox still performs better than the promotion or the junk mail. They basically effectively, it was an in-kind contribution of hundreds of millions of dollars to the Hillary Clinton campaign. And I think it's outrageous that this went on. And there's been other reports that they did this. And this is the type of thing these companies do. So Twitter's, I think, just joining the Congo line. The Congo line.
Wow. So, Chris, you have personal experience and you just cited this bias. So as a journalist, as a businessman, how do you think this should be handled with Twitter? Did the president make the right choice?
Well, I think the legal thing that he did, the executive order, is perfectly fine because basically he's saying if you're going to edit and you're going to bias and take sides, you're no longer a forum which is immune from defamation lawsuits. You're actually an edited, curated content site. And that's really what these companies are. And Twitter is going in there, editing and fact-checking the president. They don't fact-check Nancy Pelosi. They don't do it to Barack Obama. All these Democrats, they don't do it to media organizations. So I think he's within bounds. Now, do I agree with everything the president says on Twitter? Absolutely no. But I think everybody knows this is a man that tells people what he thinks, and this is his outlet for doing that.
Yeah, we started with Minneapolis a little bit. I was curious on your thoughts about watching this unfold, how you think the media is doing covering it.
Well, I think the media is doing what it's always done. I don't think they're stirring the pot. I do think there are certain individuals. When I see Maxine Waters come out and say the president is to blame for this, and it's pretty clear the Democrats want to make this a political issue. The president came out for criminal justice reform. He was the first guy to do that. That helps African Americans. He had the lowest African American unemployment in modern times. That helps them. It helps all Americans if everybody's empowered. So I've known the man for a long time. He's not racist. And I think he saw there was an injustice there. In fact, the Department of Justice, I believe, is looking into that. They're certainly looking into the Georgia case, and very objectively. So I just, the media is doing the job that it has to do on this. I'm not seeing that they're problematic on it, but I do see that there's a lot of actors in this that are not helpful.
What do you think we need to do as a nation to start down the path of healing and to close this racial divide?
Well, I believe that the best thing to help African Americans is economic empowerment. When the civil rights movement began, blacks had 12% of the population and 2% of GDP. Fast forward all of this stuff since the 60s and huge, massive government programs and racial programs, affirmative action. Blacks still are 12%, and they're still about 2 or 3% of the GDP. Nothing has really changed. So they have political power. They actually helped elect a president, Barack Obama. They just don't have economic power. And I think Donald Trump's always said, why don't I give you economic power? I want to help the black community. He's always been very friendly. He was friendly with Sharpton. He was friendly with Jackson. So I think that is what really heals this. It's an economic problem at root, I believe.
Yeah, getting back to Twitter, do you think Dorsey is picking a fight at the wrong time and with the wrong person here?
I don't know Dorsey. I don't know what his motive is. I'm sure he's under enormous pressure. We saw that Comcast, Joe Scarborough, had come out very strongly against the president. You know, if you watch that show in the morning for the past couple of years, they've accused the president of being an organized crime figure, engaging in criminal behavior, of being psychotic, of being mentally ill, of being unstable, of being all sorts of things. You just tune in, and it's unbelievable the things they say about him. And Donald Trump said, okay, well, I'll say some aspersion about you, which I would not do as president if I were president. I don't think most Americans would suggest he do it, but this is Donald Trump, and this is how he acts. And I have to feel to a certain degree, Bob, that NBC taunted him. They wanted him to act out on Twitter. And now they're trying to pressure him to be pushed off or to be censored. It's not a good thing for anyone. And I think it's both sides have some blame here. Both sides need to calm the rhetoric down.
Well, you know, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook said, as a platform, we shouldn't be the arbiter of truth. So you can't help but wonder just the widespread impact here. And you wish it could almost be isolated to one company, but that isn't the case, right?
Well, they always say that they're not the arbiter and they don't get involved and this and that. But I remember when Donald Trump was running against Hillary in 2016, one day I looked up the search results. I put in Donald Trump. It was just page after page of the most vile, terrible things about. And I knew most of it was that a lot of that I saw that I knew of was not true. And then Hillary Clinton, I put her name in, and page after page of glowing stories about her. So somebody manipulated the results. There was nothing negative the first 3 pages, as I recall. And, you know, it turns out there's a story out in Vox that the former CEO of Google is working right now, Eric Schmidt, to stop Donald Trump. And he's working with the head of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, and they're trying to put a social media and internet strategy together. Eric Schmidt had worked for the Hillary campaign as a volunteer. He worked for the Barack Obama campaign. I mean, this is a little close for comfort, right?
Right, absolutely. And the head of integrity with some words about the president, too, at Twitter. So we thank you so much for your time, Mr. Ruddy. It's always nice spending time with you, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.